on that. Okay, there it goes. We are live. Welcome to Humane Mind Live, episode 139. Trump secretly died from COVID. So, this is somewhat clickbaity, although I'm not quite sure if it's clickbaity, because it's appealing to the insanity, or I guess alluding to the insanity, not appealing to it, but so it's not a clickbait because it's not like they click on this video because this is what everybody's making a big deal out of this. It's making fun of that. Yeah, I don't know if that technically qualifies as clickbait or not, but the original title I had for it was just Trump's recovery plan, but as I was scheduling this episode, it occurred to me that there's so much news about all the conspiracy theories going around. Like, well, maybe I should play into that. But in addition to that, so these are some of the topics that I had mentioned last week, but I didn't get to because of the I had a time limit on, I had to leave by 10, and so I ended up talking way more than had planned on the COVID excess deaths and things like the main topics of the evening. So I'm going to try to cover this stuff here. And again, it's been a pretty slow news week overall, so that's kind of a relief because now I can actually touch on all of these things. Although there are some new stories to go over. So I've got the Not So Silent Minority, Alita Re-peata, that's a new one. The Third Man, Hamilfun, Easycore, that's one of the newer ones that I found out about this week. And then and the ending clip, which Easycore was the... Oh, no, never mind. We did get to the ending clip from last week, so Easycore was something that I found out about this week, and I was planning on having it be my ending clip, but then found something else, and I was like, okay, it was kind of a toss-up between which one is going to be the ending clip and which one I was actually going to talk about as more in-depth. Are you there, Sinister?
Yep. Yeah, I was just having you run through the list.
Yeah, because you'd stepped away for a second. Wasn't sure if you were back yet or not. Okay. And also, there's a new story. So let's cover that first because it's fresh on my mind, and I may forget about it later. So this is something that just popped up like in the last 30-40 minutes, or at least I just found out about it the last couple of minutes, like within the last hour. Netflix was indicted for cuties. So indicted by a grand jury. They are going to court in Texas over that, and Tim Pool and the Quartering were both reporting on that recently, and Netflix stocks are plummeting as a result of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they would think that would pass here in the U.S.
Yeah,
I don't care what France does, but that's just,
yeah,
I don't know. That's an uncalled for movie, and they should have. It's been out over in France. Someone should have reviewed it and said, "Yeah, we can't do that here."
yeah. You would
So
think
that's
that
their own fault.
their legal team would have looked over that and be like, "Oh, is this possibly violating any U.S. laws? Maybe we should consider that before buying the rights." Yeah, but so I don't think if that's going to lead to the death of Netflix. Although you never know. I mean, everybody thought Blockbuster was going to be around for forever, and then they went belly up, and maybe Netflix is on its way out too. Uh, and
Yeah. I
and
mean,
that
this couldn't come at a worse time because Disney Plus came out like a year ago.
mm-hmm.
They're picking up Steam. Amazon is available. Hulu.
Yeah, out of
So
all of the services, so far, Amazon Prime I think is my favorite that I've dealt with so far. Um, So I mean, a lot of their original programming is very good. I recently started watching Carnival Row. Yeah, it's So I don't think the trailers quite did that one justice. That is actually a really, really well thought out show, and it it, it is a very subtle touch for dealing with issue of racism and immigration and refugee status. And it's like, because I saw the original trailers, like, oh, this is, you know, oh, they're just, oh, all these poor. It was I saw it as a metaphor for the illegal immigrants coming across the border, and I was like, this is going to be so ham-fisted. Maybe that was my own interpretation bringing it in, but when actually watching the series, I was like, wow, this is even-handed. It understands it, like it yeah. It's not like it did not seem like left-wing propaganda, which is when I first saw the trailer. That's what my initial thought was about. But it's a really good show. Waiting on season 2 for that. The Boys is on there. That's again another show that it's it has left wing messaging, but it's done in a way where it's it's kind of lampooning it, but not really. It is very well done. I'm not sure because I can see both sides seeing that they're getting the upper hand on that issue, but not really. Because when they, yeah, because there are LGBT characters. Oh, I'm getting some feedback there. I was like, oh yeah, and again, this is supposed to be a side story, but yeah, start rambling on about Amazon Prime. But of the streaming services, Amazon Prime is one of the better ones as far as original programming. The stuff that they do have that's original is not ham-fisted, not shoving it down your throat. Um, whereas
Yeah.
Disney just had they've got an entire panel dedicated to like what Black is King, and it's like, oh, these are Black recommended. It's like, what? There's no. I'm not looking down on this list. I don't see an Asian recommendation in your Disney lineup. I don't say, hey, oh, these are famous Asians are recommending these. It's
See,
yeah,
I thought it was here a couple weeks ago. Disney was trying to get away from that woke stuff.
yeah, but they've got two. So they've got one that is black friendly, or I forget the name, whatever they called the trending, but it's like all black entertainment, and so it's either films about black people or entirely black sitcoms, and then they've got another one. It's like recommendation from some name. I don't know who this individual is, but it's kind of like woke SJW, Black Lives Matter
This is
stuff.
all nonsense.
Yeah, so they've got
Because
two.
back in the
They've got
sitcom days, they had shows like the Cosbys, the
mm-hmm.
Jeffersons. Everybody watched it. Nobody cared if it was a
Yeah,
black family. It was just a family.
yeah. I don't know anybody who watched Family Matters and was like, oh, I can't relate to that. Yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, same kind of thing. Everybody watched Fresh Prince of Bel Air. It wasn't black. Oh, this is
Those
black
were all
entertainment.
hugely popular shows.
The
So
only, yeah,
why are they now
only,
having to point it out as in?
yeah. It's not like they advertised it to just black audiences or something like that. They had just, hey, it's a show. It's about a black family, but everybody can relate to it. It's not specifically black entertainment. Yeah, and yet, so Disney's got that going on. Disney doesn't
That's
have
bad.
very much in the way of original programming. Like I said, outside of the Mandalorian, it's crickets until the Marvel expanded universe starts showing up. But that's going to be a couple more months. Um, their original movies that they're releasing to the platform, you've got to pay an extra fee on top of the subscription service to view. So, don't think I'm going to keep that around. Hulu is kind of a mixed bag. I've seen some good stuff on there, but most of they don't really have much in the way of original content. I think Future Man, and I think that's the only thing I can think of that's like a Hulu exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't had Hulu for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Netflix had some decent exclusives in the way of Stranger Things and The Witcher and stuff like that, but this Cuties thing made it completely obsolete. And I don't know of any other streaming services that are. I mean, there's what Screen Junkies did every streaming platform. There's like Peacock, which is NBC's step into the fray. But apparently they don't have Friends in Seinfeld on the NBC Peacock. It's like it's your biggest. Yeah, they made.
What, they don't have it on there?
Yeah, they don't have it on there. I'm guessing that's because I think HBO has the rights to Friends and Seinfeld.
Oh,
So
that's like the only two shows anybody would want to watch from them.
yeah, like those are the big draws for NBC. I mean, I guess maybe you could watch 30 Rock on there, but I think 30 Rock is also available on every other streaming platform. So I don't know any other major NBC shows that people would want to watch. Um, I mean, I guess if people want to, watch the Tonight Show reruns, but um, yeah. So the only one that I'm planning on maybe keeping around for a while is Amazon Prime. That's because it's included in my Prime service. I'm not giving up my Amazon Prime because that's yeah.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing I just found out about this week that also gives you so Twitch is owned by Amazon, and subscribing to Amazon Prime also gets you a free subscription for Twitch. So I don't know. I mean, I don't use Twitch or anything like that, but I'm gonna go look for a streamer who does stuff on Twitch that I can subscribe to because that does give them additional funding. Like I don't, so I'm gonna spend a little bit to try to find if there's a Twitch streamer that I'm like okay this is somebody who needs or could use. I mean, it's not going to be much. I don't know what the subscription gives them. Maybe only a couple of cents or something like that. But it's like, just throw a little charity towards someone just because otherwise it doesn't go anywhere.
Hmm.
But you get one free subscription per month because you're an Amazon Prime member. And I'm like, oh. So I don't know if the Quartering or somebody like that uses a Twitch service for streaming. I don't know. So I know he does like live streaming where he plays games. I don't know if he does that on Twitch or anything like that, but something along those lines.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah. So, all right. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before Prime starts getting all this woke broke nonsense. But because I mean, look at what Jeff Bezos is doing with the Washington Post and all that. He's all right. But getting back on track after that little side tangent, let's talk about Trump dying of COVID.
Yeah,
So,
that's been driving me nuts.
he's at death's doors, people, and so that's why it's like, yeah, well, he secretly did die, and now there's it's a body double. That's what's going on. Is he died of COVID, and there's a body double acting as president. I mean,
Yeah, he's following along with the Kim Jong.
Jong-un. Yep.
But I mean, it's not just him. Like multiple staff members have also gotten COVID in the last week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. So Mike Lee is tested positive. Kayleigh McEnany is tested positive. Kellyanne Conway was positive. Bunch of other people. There's like 14 or something within Trump's immediate cabinet that were. So Mike Pence so far doesn't have it. He's the only one that, like the major, well-known ones that
Yeah.
doesn't have it. So that again, that also kind of leads to conspiracy theories type stuff. It's like, okay, he's the only one out of your immediate cabinet that didn't test positive, and he's got a debate happening this week.
Yeah, but he's generally stays kind of separate from the
Yeah,
president.
and I mean, there's logical
Like he
reasons to do
wasn't
that
at
too.
that last debate where most of his press staff was.
Yeah, and there's safety reasons for that. Whenever there's an event, they don't put the president and vice president together most of the time, or they try to separate them as much as possible because
Yeah.
if there's some kind of like terrorist event, like or if there's something, some catastrophic thing, yeah, you don't want to lose. Okay, well, we for some reason in one single act or one single terrorist event. We lost our president, our vice president, and the Secretary of State. Crap.
Yep.
Actually, there's a show with Kiefer Sutherland kind of based on that called Designated Survivor, where one member of the cabinet or whatever is picked to, kind of like, well, you don't get to come to the event, but then there is an explosion or something like that at the event, and it kills like the top three, and he was just some kind of schlub, like some nobody, and all of a sudden, he's the president now because everybody above him is gone. But he was the next person in line on that. I forget where it goes after Secretary of State. I know it's President, Vice President, Secretary of State, and then it is like Speaker of the House or no.
Or is the Speaker of the House the third one, and then Secretary of State?
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, it might be Speaker and then Secretary. Yeah, but they want to make sure they don't want all four of those in the same place at the same time, so they try to either mix it up or limit it to just two or whatever that is. But yeah, so yeah, but it was on Friday everybody was talking about the news, and it's like I was just thinking, yeah, this is gonna blow over in a couple of days, and it's gonna prove, well, it doesn't quite prove anything because the leftist media are talking about even though he's now back at the White House. But I'll go ahead and play this clip I've got ready because this was what he said on Sunday, or this might have been Saturday.
I want to begin by thanking all of the incredible medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, everybody at Walter Reed Medical Center. I think it's the finest in the world, for the incredible job they've been doing. I came here, wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back. I have to be back because we still have to make America great again. We've done an awfully good job of that, but we still have steps to go, and we have to finish that job. And I'll be back. I think I'll be back soon. And I look forward to finishing up the campaign the way it was started and the way we've been doing and the kind of numbers that we've been doing. We've been so proud of it. But this was something that happened, and it's happened to millions of people all over the world, and I'm fighting for them, not just in the U.S. I'm fighting for them all over the world. We're going to beat this coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to beat it soundly. So many things have happened. If you look at the therapeutics, which I'm taking right now, some of them, and others are coming out soon that are looking like, frankly, they're miracles. If you want to know the truth, they're miracles. People criticize me when I say that, but we have things happening that look like they're miracles coming down from God. So I just want to tell you that I'm starting to feel good. You don't know, over the next period of a few days, I guess that's the real test, so we'll...
All right, yeah. So this came out Saturday evening, and so he's taken to Walter Reed around early Friday, like I think before noon, so somewhere around 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. something around that time frame. And this came out Friday evening. So I don't know when not Friday evening, Saturday evening. So I don't know exactly what time. This is from Dinesh D'Souza's channel. That's the first place I saw it. But so if he's tested positive for COVID, was having symptoms on Friday, goes to the hospital, by Saturday he's already doing this, and it's like, is he coughing? Is he hacking? It's a whole, 4-minute long video of him just talking normally, and he seemed like he doesn't have anything wrong with him the whole entire time. So I was like, that's the kind of, so there's, what I'm seeing is, okay, let's say the claim was legitimate, he went to the hospital, was having symptoms, was given therapeutics within a day or two, and he was even still in the hospital on Sunday, but as of Monday, he's no longer in the hospital, and he's back at the White House like normal. It's like, that's it. And he's in his 70s. He's at the highest risk group that is possible with COVID. He fits multiple comorbidities here.
Yep. But the thing that's been really bugging me is the way like mainstream media has been handling this because they're just making assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
throwing out like uh, I don't know, I guess fear propaganda.
Yeah.
If he just went in Friday, what are they expecting by Friday evening? And saying the president's deathly ill, and then calling for, press conferences on Saturday, and we've got insiders reporting the president's on death's door, and all kinds of nonsense. And then there's other people on the mainstream media that have been saying, well, he deserved it.
Yeah.
Why would anybody say that? No one's walking around saying, Biden deserves it or Harris deserves it. That nobody does. Why would they say that? They're so hateful against the president.
Yeah.
They wish he would die, and they're applauding it.
Yeah. And oh, which who was that on Saturday Night Live? No, somebody made a joke about it. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was the no, it might have been Stephen Colbert. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the one who made the joke. It's like Trump test positive for COVID. No, it was some late night show. Maybe not, may not have been Stephen Colbert. It might have been Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. So it was like Trump tested positive for COVID. Our condolences go out to COVID. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I understand. I
Yeah, I mean, if people are in this Trump hating mentality, I guess maybe that fits their sense of humor. I don't know if that's even a sense of humor.
yeah, I mean it. Like I kind of look at it as like, okay, that's I was not expecting that, so it's slightly clever, but it's also wait a minute, what? Your condolences go out. It's kind of like the you don't understand that all the people who have COVID currently, all the people that you were previously lamenting, and now uh,
Yeah,
it seems incredibly tone deaf. Like who do you think that was supposed to appeal to? Because uh, that's I guess I mean the only people that could appeal to are the crazy leftists who hate Trump and are like, yeah, good riddance sort of thing. I was like, that's the only type of people that sort of joke could make could land with. Everybody else is just like, ooh, yeah, no.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's just
apparently they think majority of the country is anti-Trump, and so I guess they think they're appealing to their largest base. But
yeah. I mean,
yeah, I think they're sorely mistaken. And if they keep watching their ratings drop and their viewership dropping week after week for all of the media shows, the late night shows, like I think Seth Meyer, Colbert, John Oliver, their viewership's dropping terribly.
yeah. Well, the other side to that is so it's because what I was thinking about that is it so the joke our condolences go out to COVID. It's very similar to the Chuck Norris joke. He was bitten by a rattlesnake, and after 7 grueling days, the snake died. It's it's very similar in
I
its
guess yeah.
structure to that joke. The only problem is you don't feel bad for the Cobra in the joke, but you're supposed to feel bad for COVID for having to deal with Trump. That is like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I guess it could be taken one of two ways. So initially, that would be my thought. But if Trump fully recovers, then it actually has a flip side, meaning like he kicked its butt,
yeah, it's
he
like
beat
well,
it.
that's what they're seeing now is yeah, he beat it. He beat the. I mean, well, I mean, it's not like he beat the odds because even for people above 65 and older, and even with people with that are obese and Trump falls within the category of obese for his even for his size and age. Um, so he's got those multiple comorbidities in obesity and his age group, but even then, you're talking about like 95% survival rate. So
Yep.
the odds that this was going to do anything. Yeah, and the only people who were, saying, "Oh, this is him. How could he possibly recover that fast? He's faking it and all this." It's because those are the people who still think COVID is this huge problem, and it hasn't been since at least June. It hasn't, and as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with in February and March. Had people actually listened to the doctors and what they were saying at the time instead of like, oh, Trump said it, that it must be false. Because actual doctors were talking about hydroxychloroquine. They were talking about remdesivir. They were talking about the platelet transfusions. I was like, those are therapeutics we're using now, and they should have been implemented at a much higher rate earlier, but everybody was avoiding them because Trump mentioned them. That is absolutely idiotic. They would rather see people die than Trump be right, or they're like, oh, well, Trump mentioned it, therefore it's got to be this risky thing to give people, and it's like, what?
Yeah. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Isn't the ultimate goal to make sure everyone's doing better?
It should have been, but they politicized it, and I talked about it last week. I showed, so there were links to excessive deaths in the U.S., and we saw this pretty big spike in March, and that spike almost goes away in June, and then it comes back up for the U.S., but it's not coming back up in any other country or any other place that was tracking the excess deaths, and that seemed bizarre to me. Most of the other places, they might have a little bit of rise after June, but most of them, they see their peak in March, and it disappears in June, and then it's within a margin of errors. And I'm like, well, even with the U.S., it's still within a standard deviation from the excess deaths, but it's towards the higher end of that. And I was thinking about that afterwards as to what could be accounted. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we're the only place where they're having these riots, and we're the only place that's locked down heavily. So a lot of these other countries, they are no longer locking down, or at least not to the extreme that the U.S. is doing. So we are the only ones still on these major lockdowns, and the excess deaths. So the way I was looking at this is, we've got the excess deaths that is showing somewhere around 20%. Like during March and February, I forget the exact rate in the U.S., it was something like 70-ish% excess or something like that. And then currently, we're at 15 to 20% excess deaths. And I was like, but the number of people dying from COVID on a daily basis is 100 people. 100 extra deaths doesn't equate to a 20% excess death difference. You're talking, in order to reach that 20%, you're talking about several hundred or several thousand of deaths a day. And when I start, okay, so we've got the riots, we've got the lockdown, we've got increase in crime and murders and homicides, and we've got rising deaths from alcohol abuse, rising deaths from drug abuse, and rising deaths from suicides. And it's like, okay, you add all those together with the 100-ish COVID deaths per day, that's how you bridge that gap to that 20%.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that starts to make sense. So while other countries are seeing that same kind of COVID, 100 deaths or whatever, they're not seeing all these other things on top of that, like the suicide and the drug use and all these other forms of death that are increasing. Oh, the other thing that we're also seeing an increase in cancer deaths and heart attack deaths and other things that are higher than they normally would be at this time of year compared to previous years. So, the reasoning behind that is because people aren't going to the hospital for regular checkups or for screenings and things like that because everything's locked down for COVID. And
oh yeah, that's true.
And for me, recently, I've been having a medical issue, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but just scheduling an appointment for that took forever. I called multiple hospitals and clinics trying to schedule a basic appointment, and I kept getting answering machines, and a lot of these places also have automated services to schedule an appointment, and all of them are being ignored because of COVID. So a lot of the places I called, they're like, oh, schedule one online, and you go and you try to schedule one online, and they say, oh, we're sorry, we can't schedule that appointment because the facility is locked down due to COVID. Call this number instead. And then you call the number and you get an automated voicemail, voice system. You leave a voicemail, and 2 days later they still don't call you back. And so just trying to schedule an appointment took almost a week, and then when I actually could schedule an appointment, the earliest appointment I could get was a week and a half after I got a hold of somebody to schedule. It's like, and I don't have like a death life-threatening illness as far as I know. Not gonna put that, or shouldn't put that out there, but I mean, I am not somebody with a diagnosed condition that is like cancer or brain tumors, or and it's like if those people are going through these same systems, like that's insane. Like people with known serious conditions are fighting against the system to get their regular treatments or scheduled appointments for what they should be able to set up, but it's all under the guise of this COVID is so deadly, and it's looking at all the statistics we have now. I don't know how anybody still has this view that COVID is this super lethal, the worst thing to happen to mankind, plague kind of thing. And it's like it was bad, worse than the flu, more contagious than the flu, not as bad as Ebola, but Ebola was thankfully not very contagious. So it was kind of like a mix between it was a slightly superior flu. It wasn't a super flu or the flu to end all flus, but it was a more advanced form of a flu. And we've now got therapeutics to deal with it. And that's one of the things because Trump talked about being on hydroxy as a preventative measure. And it's not a preventative in the fact that it eliminates all potential, but it does reduce the risk of catching it. And it's like, well, and it also is based on your immune system, which if you're over 65, your immune system is already weaker than, weaker than somebody in their teens and 20s and 30s. So you're just kind of like, well, there's only so much, hydroxychloroquine can do for your system, and you're going to catch it, but it's not going to be as bad. It's not going to be as severe, and we can see that, with Trump's condition, it seemed to have gotten bad, but not bad where he was like on a ventilator and was on life support like they're trying to claim. The other thing that's crazy about the situation is the Walter Reed let Trump go. Like they allowed him to check out of the hospital, and it's kind of like, well, why are these reporters still saying, oh, it's way worse than what they're letting on? It's like, if it was worse than what it looks like, why would the hospital release the president? Because if you're Walter Reed and you let the president go back to work and he dies later, do you think that facility is going to be like the trusted name, like like
yeah, who's going to go there ever?
He's like, yeah, you guys let the president die because you didn't you let him go when he was still sick with COVID, and you didn't. Yeah, that's extreme malpractice on their part if they're letting him go when he's still, if he's still suffering severely from that condition.
No, it's just fear mongering. It's all they're trying to do is keep the populace stirred up over nothing, just sensationalizing everything having to do with this. It's all Trump's fault. All the 200,000 deaths are all his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't understand it. And I also heard some people saying because he was anti-mask for a while, even though Fauci told everyone don't wear masks for like a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But they were saying, yeah, if he had just worn his mask, he wouldn't have caught it. Like that's not. Yeah, that's not how that works. The mask don't stop you from getting sick.
Yeah, They don't stop you from getting sick, and in most cases, they're likely to increase the chance that you'd get sick, depending on how the mask is used and all that sort of stuff. How often you actually change the mask, or repeat use and stuff like that. But the main thing when people started pushing the masks was like, it's not about you, it's about you getting other people sick. If you have it, it's reducing your chance of spreading it to other people. And it's like, well, President Trump got checked regularly for COVID, and until recently was testing negative for it. So him putting on a mask and going out and talking in front of people, oh, that's to prevent you from spreading it. It's like, well, you can't spread what you don't have. So what good does the mask do if its primary purpose is to prevent somebody who has it from spreading it to other people? It's, if you don't have it, there's nothing to spread. There's no need for the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and there was somebody got caught on a hot mic. I don't know if it was a governor or the governor's assistant or something like that. So it was somebody who was talking to the governor, Governor Wolf, and she got hot mic, and she's saying, "Oh, it's just for theater, or it was political theater," but she wanted to take the mask off once she got up on stage. She just wanted to leave it on until she could, for the political theater, so they could film her taking the mask off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, I want to take mine off too, but I'm going to wait till I'm up at the podium to take it off for political theater. That was the idea of being expressed. It was like, yeah, we all know it's political theater. Thanks for admitting that, although you didn't intend to admit that. You got recorded, or you didn't think the mic was on yet.
Yep.
So, yep. But as far as I know, President Trump seems to be in good health, and he's making jokes about it, and there was something I saw, kind of a conspiracy theory-ish. So Trump tweeted something about something well, like feeling well, or everything's going well, or something like that, but it was actually spelled W-E-L-I, like with a capital I, and some people were looking at it in regular font, and they were like, it looks like well, but then when you switch it to like Times New Romans or something like that, the font shows as W-E-L, or W-E lowercase l, and then a capital I, and people were making references saying it's some kind of, I forget what that they said it was. It was something to do with a deck of cards, and that being a trump card.
A what?
A trump card. W-E-L-I... Is it card deck or a card game? Okay, it's a card game, and the welly refers to a trump card. Yeah, so everyone was kind of saying that what Trump did here with COVID might be him, and he might be sending out a coded message that this was his October surprise Trump card. Because right now, the only thing that they have to kind of use, or the only thing that they keep trying to hammer Trump, up on, is the COVID situation. But if his entire cabinet, with the exception of Mike Pence, has COVID and they all recover within days, like what we're seeing right now, that kind of deflates their whole COVID balloon, right? So
yeah.
This might be strategic in nature, where maybe it was the case that, so there's it's like I don't know about the whole welly card thingy. That seems a stretch, but they did. The people who were talking about this is like, yeah, well, you have to think about it. If you're typing WEL, whether you're typing it on a phone or a keyboard, that's something you have to deliberately do. Otherwise, that I would have been a lowercase, and it wouldn't have looked like it said well. So I don't know. That seems a bit out there, but not implausible. But so that yeah, so if that is the case, then maybe it's just like they lucked out and everybody got sick with COVID. Because if that was the plan, was to have everybody get so it yeah, they're either they've had it before. Well, that's the other thing about these recent COVID tests and what people are talking about is they've increasingly made the test more expansive to test, other strains of COVID and all that sort of stuff. And what people are saying is more people are um, testing positive for COVID than they would have previously, because now we're looking for a broader range, and so naturally you're going to find people that have like the regular common cold that are testing positive for COVID. Um, and so maybe that's what was going on here, is maybe they all just had regular colds and it triggered the COVID test, and now they get to pass it off as if they're hey, we had COVID, we recovered from it, or yeah. So I mean, there's a whole lot of speculations. Maybe it's not worth going down all this, but it could be that they didn't have it and are claiming to have it so that way they can recover from it. Although that doesn't quite seem likely, because that would mean the doctors at wow, I just something, I'm drawing a blank on it. I just said it earlier. Walter Reed, yeah. So the Walter Reed doctors would have to be in on this, as in they know the cabinet and the president weren't really sick and are just claiming to have been sick, and they're not going to say anything about it. That seems... I mean, there is that doctor-patient confidentiality, but you would think that saying, oh, no, they didn't have it, they didn't, they weren't sick with COVID, would be something they could say, because it's not a breach of doctor-patient confidentiality, right? If you were to say, oh, nope, this person did not have cancer, is the doctor allowed to say the patient didn't have something?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Because it's not really a breach of patient confidentiality if you're saying that they have a clean record, right? So I don't know. But I would think that, the doctors would not be in on this if they're making false claims about their situations. The other thing is maybe this is another wildly out there. Maybe they knew somebody in their circle had it, and were like, yeah, let's just get rid of it. Let's just get over it. Let's just spread it around, and then once we all recover from it, we don't have to worry about it anymore. It might have been just, kind of ripping it off like a Band-Aid. Just, yeah, we're going to catch it eventually. Might as well get it now while we can. When we know the therapeutics are working really well, we know our chances of dying from this are very low.
Yeah.
So it might have been an intentional spread within the group. Again, that's speculation. Or maybe it just kind of worked out that, well, it was bound to happen sometime, and it just happened to happen at this particular time. And it's, in the end, it's, no matter how that situation went, it's
probably because all of the presidential staff is sitting and having their meetings, but they're not going to sit there all day wearing a mask because they're in the White House.
Yeah, so more
They're
than
working with each other every day,
likely,
so
it was just kind of, it was bound to happen, and it just happened coincidentally at this time. But no matter what, it's going to benefit Trump and his campaign, because one of the things that was being reported is after the announcement was made that he did have COVID, that Trump's poll numbers spiked. They went up instead of down. And some people are saying, oh, that's a sympathy vote sort of thing, but But yeah, either way, it makes the COVID not look so dangerous and malicious. It's like, yeah, we just had a, 70-plus-year-old fat guy recover from it. So what's the excuse to not send kids to school? What's the excuse to not to send college kids back to college? What's the excuse not to have workers go back to their jobs? What's the excuse to shut all this stuff down? I mean, if you can be the most hated fat old guy on the planet and you come through just fine, what is the excuse for keeping healthy people from
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't know. I think we're just gonna have to give it a few more days, see how things go,
so
and then make an assessment after. But right now, it's
the whole COVID situation should have, or the whole lockdown nightmare should have ended in May at the latest. But maybe this is the final nail in the coffin of the COVID panic, and we'll start to see everything open back up because from this. If that happens, then yeah, Trump's just gonna walk his way into a second term when Biden's gonna be like he's gonna win like one state or something like that, or no, he'd win 2 states, New York and California, and that's it.
Yep.
So, one of the biggest landslides we could ever have. But I think that's talked enough about that. All right, so this is a clip that was going around weeks ago, but I didn't get a chance to get to it earlier.
Yo, Tim Pool, I wanted to talk to you directly. I don't even know how the hell I'm going to get this to you, or even if you won't even watch it, you know what I'm saying? You probably get so much stuff poured in, you probably not even going to look at this damn thing. But I'm going to try to make this short. So, what's up, man?
I need a favor. Good morning.
What's up?
I ordered the Philly bars, 8 ounce. I'm sorry. I don't need it because I have 2 full cases. I didn't see it. Is it possible you can bring it back?
Yeah,
I really thank you. Thank you for your hard work to put this message out there, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have what I got.
So he's thanking Tim Pool for kind of waking him up to the reality of what's going on and getting him to see past the Democrat lies. And so this is the hashtag walk away. So previously a Democrat, now leaning conservative and voting for Trump. And there's a second half to this. So this is September 22nd. And a section of that video was reposted by Trump. And so it was like, and since then, this guy's channel is kind of blown up, and he's been getting all this attention. It's like, yeah, this is kind of that make or break moment. So he had a video clip, this video to Tim Pool, and he's just thanking Tim Pool for opening his mind and helping him to see past media lies. And yeah, that's all it took. And this guy is, I mean, he because in the video he's working unloading the truck. He's talking about driving for Amazon Flex, which I did not realize was a thing, but it's kind of like Uber for Amazon, which is it's something that I've been saying. Why isn't Amazon doing that? But apparently Amazon has been doing that for like 5 years, and it's just I guess it's a kind of obscure. It's only in select locations or something like that, so it's not nationwide. But I was like, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense. And look at here, this first comment. I wonder how much they paid this guy. Absolutely nothing, because this guy's an idiot. And again, this guy underneath is like, yeah, this is a clip from a longer stream. Trump didn't pay for this. This is somebody else just speaking their mind. And it's embarrassing that their first reaction is, oh, this guy was obviously paid to say what he... It's like, what?
Obviously paid. Right.
Yeah, well, it's like, I wonder how much they paid this guy. And it's like, nothing. You think that the only reason people would say this sort of stuff is if they got paid?
Yeah, that's a little ignorant.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing his job right there. That's how he's getting paid, working. If people were getting paid for that, there'd be a whole lot more videos like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like tens of thousands.
Yeah.
$50, I'll film a video.
Yeah. Like, oh, I can just make some quick cash this way. Just yeah. So this guy's channel, like,
Yo.
yeah. So now he's at 73,000. Like, prior to this video, he was in the hundreds, like maybe 8,000, 2,000, somewhere in that range. Just because of this one video within what, like 2 weeks, he's up to 73,000 already. That's an insane success story on YouTube.
Yeah.
So good for him, and I know he's been making videos more regularly after this. Again, trying to snowball off of that momentum, and he's using that to build an income for him, for him and his wife. Just good on them, and I wish them all the best. I hope that continues for him, and that he's able to snowball that into a YouTube career, and doesn't have to keep unloading trucks and driving for Amazon.
Yep.
So that's the goal, right? I mean, not the goal, but that is, what everybody who creates YouTube's videos kind of aspires to. I know I've kind of given up on that, although I still do weekly streams. So there's still that, that hope in the back of my mind that eventually maybe. But, and again, we're back to nobody joining us in the chat, so that's nope, not viral yet. Oh well. Alright, so this is an interesting story, and I just started getting this channel's videos in my, in my recommendations. Like,
hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, and we're going to give you an update on the campaign to re-release Alita Battle Angel to theaters. It's been successful. Alita is coming back to theaters. According to Cinemark on Twitter, according to Regal Theaters, the Alita Army has been successful in getting them to re-release the movie, which is great news for those of you who maybe missed it last year. It is definitely worth.
All right. So this is a little bit of a mixed bag on news because
The theaters are all shutting down.
yeah. So the situation is that theaters right now are opening back up, but they don't have films to show because Hollywood has not been making films or delaying films. Everything is kind of on a hiatus. And so theaters were looking for films, and so they're re-releasing older movies into theaters. And on Twitter, they started a campaign to re-release Alita Battle Angel back to theaters, in hopes that this would, get enough support to get a sequel. So, the sequel is kind of in limbo because the first one was released under 20th Century Fox, and since that time, Disney has bought 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
So, the odds of them working on a Alita sequel from Disney, not so high. Fortunately, the rights to the property still remain with James Cameron's studio. So he could go to, like, Paramount or Universal or something like that for the sequel. He doesn't have to stick with 20th Century Fox / Disney. So there's a possibility of that. And the film did make money. It made a good profit despite going up against Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel in theaters. But it still earned quite a sizable profit on its budget. I think it earned at least double what the estimated cost for it. So it did surprisingly well in theaters, but fans of it aren't sure if that's enough to get it get a sequel. So they thought this was kind of like the last way, and it did see it was recently released on streaming services. I think it's on HBO Max, and a lot of people have been watching it. It saw an increase in popularity because of that. So, so there's still a possibility of a sequel, but this was announced earlier that it's being released, on October 30th. But now Regal is talking about shutting down all of their theaters. So supposedly Alita is still coming to theaters, like select theaters, but good luck finding a theater that's open, let alone a theater that's open, but is also one of the theaters that decided to rewatch this film. So, re-release this film. I'm going to be looking forward on October 30th to see if it's, somewhere close to me, because, that was, I know that was the same year that Avengers Endgame came out, but this was a surprise hit for me, and so if I was given the choice between watching Avengers Endgame again in theaters or watching Alita, I'd go watch Alita.
Yeah, so would I. I think I've seen the Endgame too many times.
Yeah.
I've been watching the Marvel movies for like 10 years, so that was kind of like a new, fresh type of movie. And I was familiar with the anime from a couple years ago, so I've always liked that.
I
kind of story.
Rewatched the anime after the movie, and I'm like, how did they get that masterpiece from that blah anime?
The anime's a little drawn out. It's kind of, I wouldn't say Dragon Ball Z style, but it's just, I don't know, it reminds me of like Trigun. Just constantly moving on to the next bad guy.
Yeah. I think Trigun was better. Is more complete as a story, but the Alita is, I was like, man, how, the movie is so much better than the source material. Even with its flaws and it's the silly, like, the basketball / rollerblade thing that they were doing. I forget the name, what they called that. But it's, even though that was kind of a bit ridiculous, the whole film just worked. And it's much better than the original anime and manga.
Was it I think it was the Honest Trailers where they were talking about that, like, 90s skating, and they're like, red dudicle.
Yeah.
She's jumping through the air.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that kind of fits. That was a little weird.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed the movie the whole way through. I hope it does get a sequel that they set up for, and possibly even a third installment. We'll see. The fact that Regal was willing to put it back in theaters before they decided to shut everything down was promising, which is why it's in the show notes. But after the announcement, was that made yesterday or maybe today, where they were talking about shutting them down?
Yeah, it was in the last day or so.
Yeah. All right. Oh well, but still means that there is a fan base for that film, and there might be a big enough fan base to warrant a sequel. All right, but moving on to the next thing, this is also film related. This came out of nowhere for me.
I will make an appearance to obtain the Bresson diary. Lupin the Third. Lupin! You are after the same treasure I am.
In case you were wondering, it's Letitia.
What the hell is that, Lupin?
Is a nightmare that could destroy the world.
So,
Huh.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing that was coming out, but I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's coming to theaters or what. But yeah,
That's weird. When's the last time one of those even came out?
Lupin the Third? Yeah, I don't
The
know.
animes are from like I thought they came out in the 80s or like early 90s.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know this is still a going thing, or maybe it's not a ongoing thing, and maybe this is trying to reboot the franchise. I don't know, or maybe not reboot, but reinvigorate the franchise, like bring it back, and maybe they'll do a series or something. I don't know, but so this is Lupin the Third, the first. So
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is a retell, because because I mean, to me the first means okay, this is where it all started, but does that mean was this already put into a cartoon movie or anime prior to this? Like, did they have an origin story? Because
Uh,
I mean, I've seen a couple of the Lupin the Thirds, but they always seem to be kind of like just adventures after he's already established. This might be kind of like a prequel or origin story. At least that's what I'm thinking. But I haven't seen, if there is a existing material like that, I haven't seen it.
I think usually it was just like feature length movies, and he's just called Lupin the Third, like that's the name of the manga,
Yeah.
and it have subtitle or not subtitles. What's the subcaption or something?
Yeah. Yeah, there's always like, kind of like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Or, no, we're going to forget that one happened. Never mind. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It was kind of, like that.
Or they, I guess, according to Wiki, they had a Lupin the Third Part One, and that was a television series.
Okay.
Aside from the movies.
And so this might just be a theatrical version of that story. Okay. But yeah, I don't see a release date on this, but this is something that is coming out, I don't know if it's coming to theaters or if it's going straight to a streaming service or what. I couldn't find any details on that just yet, but this is coming out, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of excited for that. So, I mean, again, I'm not like binge watching all the Lupin the Third films or anything like that, but I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, that's definitely something I need to keep on my radar and track when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm thinking about that, there was something else that was in the news. I mean, kind of like mildly in the news, but Chris Pratt was being railroaded because he made a Twitter comment. He was talking about how important it is to vote, and this is the most important vote of your lifetimes, and that you needed to vote for Onward for Best Family Film or something like that at the Teen Choice Awards. And people were, mocking, or, kind of like, oh, how dare you, this is... I was like, dude, that is awesome. And so my appreciation for Chris Pratt went up. I was like, he was in Onward, and I didn't realize that. So, I've got Disney Plus, so I was like, oh, Onward is on there, might as well check it out.
So what's everyone getting mad about? It's just a joke.
Yeah,
it's not like joke. He was even...
Yeah.
He's just hinting at the election, but not really political in its nature. It's not picking a side.
Yeah, he was hinting at the election and then switching it to talk about his movie Onward. But it's also like lampooning all the people who are like, I'm a celebrity, you need to vote for, this is... It's kind of like, yeah, you're a celebrity, shut up and color. Dance, monkey. That's all you're supposed to do. You are the entertainment. You're not here to tell us how to vote or who to vote for, or you're here to distract us from the voting process. So, but yeah, so I Onward is really, really good. Whoever made the trailer for that film needs to be fired. I hope they are fired, and I hope they're not just fired, but they have a daily... Somebody just walks by and kicks them in the balls. They did that movie so much injustice in the original trailer. So the original trailer was just like, oh, everything used to be fantasy setting, magic, and now it's just, you know, trolls and elves in a modern city. And, you know, and they show, you know, the unicorns eating out of the trash, and it's like, and that's the trailer for it.
That's that movie. Yeah, with the two troll brothers.
And you're like,
yeah.
So you hear that, you know, like, this is good. It's terrible. All the jokes in the original trailer were so stupid, and I was like, dude, this is Pixar's Shark's Tale. Because Shark's Tale was the worst DreamWorks film that they ever made. And it's not that it was bad voice acting, or it was just a terrible concept, and all of the jokes were puns or plays on word.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is Pixar's. They're doing that with. It's D&D, but it's, you know, or D&D fantasy setting, but everything is in the real world, and we're gonna make all jokes about today's society. And you're like, well, then what's the point of having the fantasy element? The trailers made it look so bad and so old and stale. The actual film was really well done. The whole storyline, it is. It beautifully mixed a coming-of-age road trip story with a D&D adventure, like a campaign event. So, yeah, it's an idea that seems like on the surface it looked like they just, what if we had centaurs in today's society? Ha ha ha, jokes, insert joke here. But the actual film is way more well thought out, and it blends these two kind of things that shouldn't really work, but they kind of do. It's kind of like the end product is a bit like chocolate and peanut butter. Like, they complement each other so well, and you're like, the end product is like, that was fantastic. I was pleasantly surprised by the end product. And again, that was one of those films that kind of went overlooked in theaters, and it's almost entirely because they had crappy trailers for it.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the trailers. I was like, that just looks like a. Bleh. So that's why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was one of Pixar's better outings, and so currently the worst Pixar movie still goes to The Good Dinosaur, because that was kind of the, well, what if we just had farmer dinosaurs? And it's like, what? Yeah, what if dinosaurs survived and then they grew up, you know, and they evolved to become farmers? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember that movie. I know I've seen it.
The Good Dinosaur was completely forgettable. Man, it was poorly thought out the entire way through. Yeah, and yeah, it was. I mean, it's Pixar, so the animation looked good, but everything about the movie was just forgettable. So yeah, I looked at Onward and I was like, oh, it's gonna be along the same lines. But Onward is, I can't highly recommend that one. Very, very, very interesting. So, I guess maybe the concept on its surface is not very interesting, but the way it was implemented makes the whole thing very interesting and very well done. All right. Okay, this was cool. All right, so moving on to Hamilfun.
Tonight, I'll be eating a veggie cheeseburger on ciabatta. No tomatoes.
Tonight, I'll be eating 4 cheese tortellini with extra tomatoes.
So it's come to this. Thank you.
Bravo.
Careful, Hamill. Daddy's not here to save you.
Oh, I am my daddy. Wait, what?
So there's a series.
Is this a commercial?
Yeah, it's a series of Uber Eats commercials. All right, it's not that long. It's like 30 more seconds. So
Tonight, I'll be eating roasted cauliflower tacos with spicy chipotle sauce. Thank you. Oh! I wasn't ready!
You want cheese to go with that wine? Tonight, I'll be eating chicken tikka masala with garlic naan. Cheers.
I win again. Patrick.
That's Sir Patrick.
Ooh, sir.
you can hear the Joker coming through on a couple of parts there.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that is a fantastic ad campaign for Uber Eats. And a lot of people in the comments are saying, it's Star Wars versus Star Trek crossover, finally. All right. And then, okay, so it's about 8:12, so we're doing good on time. I'm good on, and so most of these stories were relatively short. This one might be a little bit longer, but maybe not. All right, so just gonna pause it right there. From that, what do you think this is?
I'm guessing some kind of game, right?
Well, yeah.
An evil game.
If you had to guess just from that, what does that look like to you? Like I mean, if you couldn't see the title.
Oh yeah, it's kind of tiny print on my phone.
Oh.
I don't know, Elder Scroll or something. No, wait, Elder Scroll's not like that. That's
okay. So my first thought was, oh, this is a World of Warcraft expansion or something like that.
Warcraft look.
Yeah. So it's actually a game engine called Core. And it is a build-your-own-game system. So kind of like Little Big Planet, where it's a game where you build games, but you can also go and explore other people's games. And they give you all the tools that they use to build the game itself. So,
So I guess you're Dungeons and Dragons quest now.
Well, no, you
I'm
can do
that's
more
not
than
like
that.
a multiplayer thing.
This particular panel was dedicated to just the Dungeons and Dragons, which.
Hello, everyone. I am joined by this amazing cast. This is our core D&D panel of Legends at PAX Online. For those that don't know, Core is a new online gaming destination that has hundreds of free PC games, but what's crazy about Core is that everything on it is actually built by gamers. What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I know.
So, these are just some highlights of D&D style examples, or D&D style games that were built using Core. And the reason they chose these people is they are all part of live streamed D&D games, which that's something I didn't know about, because I mean, so if you look at the panel here, so these three guys on the right I knew about. The Reggie Watts, Sam Riegel, he's one of the cast of Critical Role. Jerry Holkins, he's a DM on these kind of live streamed D&D. Same thing with Reggie Watts. Deborah Ann Wall, you probably recognize her from Daredevil. She also runs a D&D campaign and is a really, really good DM as well. I was surprised. Yeah, and this other guy is WWE Superstar. He plays a character in somebody else's campaigns. I was like, oh. So, because I had seen voice actors and stuff doing D&D, and it's like some, minor celebrities D&D, and or joining other people's games and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, it's kind of more broad than just, it's more well-known people getting involved in it as well. I mean, not like Deborah Ann Wall is like a, she's not like a, a name that you would like if you just heard the name by itself without seeing her picture, you probably wouldn't recognize it. But there are a lot more people getting involved in these D&D live streams, so that's kind of growing. But it was her, the game based on one of her campaigns that really is like, that is awesome.
Foghorn Whist.
Okay. Ooh, all right. So this is based on Lost Odyssey Book of Knowledge, which you can go find and watch, because I had one of my favorite moments. So the idea of the Book of Knowledge is that this cast of characters actually gets magically sucked into a book of fairy tales, and the only way out is to kind of jump from one fairy tale to the next and get out before you die or get stuck within this book. And you eventually have to make it to the Tail Weaver's lair. She's the one who's trapped you in the book, and defeat her in order to ultimately come back to the real world. So this is one of the first adventures that they jump into the book. It is a rhyming couplet, sort of silly story in the vein of like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. And the idea is that all of these farm animals are the crew on this ship. There's a pride of lions as the captain and the other mates. So your job in this story is to basically take control of the ship, because if you are not in control of the ship, as soon as it hits the edge of the story, you take force damage and the whole thing starts over again.
Oh, nice.
You have to distract and get past all of these farm animals and get to the steerage and then steer it through this particular portal in order to escape. So I was pleasantly surprised that my farm animals did a wonderful job of just destroying this party. At one point, Rosie, the bee stinger, Kate's fantastic character, Kate Welch's, she had a fox biting her leg, a pig biting the other one, a cow ramming her from the front, and 2 crows sitting in her hair just pecking away at her head. One of my favorite moments in the whole story was Satine Phoenix as Blanya. After they'd taken this, they took 10 force damage when the story reset and all this stuff. And she was like, I don't understand. Are we trying to help the story or hurt the story? And TJ goes, the story is hurting us. So the best part for us was Matthew Lillard thought that if he could restart the story if he jumped in the water. So at one point he jumped in the water, forgetting that the walrus, who is the first mate of the ship, comes out of the water. So he was locked in a deadly battle, just him and this giant walrus.
Oh no! Oh no! Run!
No!
Run!
Uh-oh.
Oh my God! Run!
And he's got a hat.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That is a fast walrus.
It is.
It's a horror book,
Hipster
yes?
walrus.
The animals are all ill-tempered.
And they're really jacked.
Yeah, they're kind of zombified. They're a little bit.
Okay.
They are really jacked. Look at that.
Strong.
And so
USDA choice.
So that.
They pretty straightforwardly just try to sail this ship. If you don't touch them or interfere with them, they just do that and they don't bother you. But as soon as you get in the way, their eyes turn red and they start to attack. So they will try to stop you.
I'm getting like Animal Farm Noah's Ark vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very much like they're taking over. So yeah, you can't fully kill them.
So you can't kill the animals. So the ASPCA will still approve this game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. If you
Okay, cool.
reduce their hit points to 0, they turn into dust, but then reappear again, and and they come back into it because they're just figments. They're just telling the story over and over again. However, you are real, so you're stuck in this story as a real person.
Wow, that's
oh no! What happens if he catches him?
Well,
Can we
if the walrus catches? Oh, wow.
That's dope.
now, is that something that
so
he made within the game engine?
So she was a DM that did an event for charity. That she's, and this is one of the. This was like a 15 or 20 minute section of that like 3-hour stream. She's talking about the situation. Now, the game itself in core, I believe, was built by someone else. I don't think she built it herself. But they built this game based on that stream that she was doing. So somebody, I don't know if it was, maybe she had some hands-on involvement, but it was somebody else using this game engine built the scenario that they played out in this charity event. Because some of the other, so these other guys, they're talking about the the campaign that inspires them, that inspired it, and so the other guy who talks, this Xavier Woods guys, he's talking about his game that he's highlighting, and it definitely sounds like he's seeing it for the first time as he's describing it, because he's like, that's exactly how I saw it in my head, and it's like, yeah, so I don't think any of these actually built the games themselves, but it's kind of, they were participating in games that were already live streamed, and they're talking about how this game engine creates that, is capable of creating that gaming experience, with very simple tools. So that's really cool.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. So it's based, there's a beautiful Dali painting that has a ship with butterfly wings that I took inspiration from.
Whoa.
Oh, there it goes! They're leaving Mulgrave
Oh my
behind.
god.
It's
the vines.
This is very.
This is awesome.
This is very Studio Ghibli sort of. It's so cool.
Like a like
my
a better
God.
Vanilla Sky.
Maxfield Parish Clouds.
Yeah, so I was like, that is really cool, and there's a couple of videos of the.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the core games platform is free to use and free to build. They have started monetizing it, although I'm not sure. Excuse me, I'm not sure exactly how that works. So
Maybe to share it out for others to play. Cost or something.
No, so the company that runs this is a company called Manticore, and they pay out. So there's what I was seeing, and this was back in June. So I don't know if this is still the case or if they've expanded it since then. But what I was seeing is, or not June, sorry, the articles I was reading was back in March and February of this year. So the company Manticore, they've announced that they have $1 million that they're giving out to creators. I don't know what the time period is over that, for that, but that's kind of their current money pool to give towards creators. And they're giving a certain amount of dollars per user or per daily user for a game that you make. So, but the program is limited to 100 creators, and I couldn't see anything anywhere. I couldn't find any articles where they expanded that beyond that initial 100, or if they even filled up that 100. So there was 100 people that are approved into this, monetization program, and if they get 500 users per day for a month, then they could potentially, I think it's $3 per user per day. So if you get consistently 500 users in your game over a month, then you get $1,500 for that month. Because so the platform is set up to, if you got a game and you're getting people to play regularly on this platform, then you get rewarded for that. And if you're drawing in new people to play your game, then you get rewarded for that. So it's interesting, but I'm not sure how Manticore Games is supposed to be making money off of this, because everything is free. Although there is this shop thing here, and I'm guessing that's how they're making their money. So the individual games don't have loot boxes or purchasable skins, but I'm guessing the core platform here has its own purchasables for your own individualized characters. So you create a character, and that character is your default character for joining any game. So if you dress yourself up like this cowboy, you can go and join some other game, and you'll look like this cowboy when you're playing it. So I'm guessing the way Manticore is supposed to be making money is by selling these packs and getting credits. So and I'm not sure what the credits are for. They're just for buying maybe additional crafting items for building your games, or for just, maybe it's all cosmetic on your character. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how all that works out, but so this is a fairly new platform, but it's a very interesting idea, and I think there's a create video. Kind of, is it here? Maybe it was the on the about. Okay, yeah, this is it. So that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to check out some videos on that. That looks really awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, I saw a couple little basic videos on using the tools, and so all of these houses and stuff, those are built. So it's not like there is a house that you just pick a house, drag it, and drop it. You build every little piece of it. So you take like these columns and you put them up there and put the roofs on. So you can build your entire buildings how you want them. Like you get to design your own structures for everything. I mean, there might be some pre-built ones or something like that if you want to copy and paste from other games and stuff like that. But the system is set up so that everything's kind of snaps together. So you'd take like a door and then you would snap it onto a house. Like, yeah, I want it to have this door, and I want it to, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but basically you can build your own. It's customized structures. You're limited in what you can have in a game because you can only use the tool, like the objects that they've created. But they've created all the individual components of everything, so you can mix and match to create your own new things by combining them together.
Wonder if it'll allow you to like skin anything. So create your own for items or objects.
Yeah, I think there is that, but because I saw like some of these games look kind of more realistic, and then some of them look kind of cel shaded, and then some of them look like I saw one guy who's doing a demo, and he turned his game into like a black and white. So everything was kind of shaded. So I don't know if that's something you apply to the whole game all the time, or if you can apply, like maybe you could make the entire game like black and white, but then certain objects stand out in color. I'm not sure how robust the tool set is, but looks pretty cool. Seems like a very unique idea, or unique implementation of an idea. And unlike Mario Maker and Little Big Planet and what is it, Dreams? Unlike those, where people spend hours crafting levels, this actually has a monetization option. So, and the tool set, you can have like these pre-scripted things, but you can also do your own coding. There's something in some kind of system which I've never heard of called Lua, or so it's not as say open as something like Unity. It's not as like where the sky's the limit type thing, but I mean the trade-off there is it's more convenient. You can have games that look like wow. That's what I was like when I first saw the trailer. I was like, wait, did they do a D&D campaign in WoW? But no, it was this engine, and this engine is using the Unreal engine, whatever was it, Unreal 4, I think is the most recent one. So all of these games look like, I mean, maybe not like AAA titles, but like they compete with, like big studios, but they're being made by, just some guy on his computer. So that's really, really cool for small, you could. So I've got a couple of game ideas. I was like, ooh, I wonder if that would work in this engine and how difficult it would be to build that game with their set of tools. But haven't gotten into that because this is something I just found out about like a couple of days ago. Like I think I found that video on Saturday and was like, that is amazing.
Yeah, definitely have to check that out.
Yeah. So who knows if it's always one of those things. Is I keep thinking, oh, that would be cool to do, but then I'm like, oh, I never have time to do that sort of stuff. All right. Anything else that happened this week that we should talk about? Or that
And not that I know of. Most of the news stuff has just been Trump getting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So that's dominated everything.
I'm getting a call right now, but just a second. Hey, can I call you back in like 5 minutes? All right. Okay. That was a Joel. All right. So, yeah, I can't think of anything else that was kind of relevant. It was all, oh, Trump's about to die. He's lying, or Trump doesn't really have COVID. He's lying to us. It's like, yeah, you guys are idiots.
Yeah.
All right.
If you got sick, let him go to the hospital, see what happens. Don't need pushing out all those stories. What?
One ticket to the children's movie, please. I am allowed to watch children's movies because I am a small. Hello. One ticket to the children's movie, please. I am allowed to watch children's movies because I am a small human child and not 2 trench coats inside of a kid. 2 trench coats and a kid. This makes me laugh. A human emotion. Ah! That would require 2 very clever trench coats. One to work the mouth and limbs, while the other fills and compresses the child's lungs. But I digress, as I am a whimsy boy. One ticket to Paddington Bear 2. I hear the rain jacket is very talented. Nice day to be young and made of skin, don't you think? My name? Burlington. Burlington Sea Factory. My parents do money and make taxes. I enjoy base bowling and having thumbs. Anyway, how much is the ticket? Let me reach into my pocket here.
What?
Keep the change.
I don't know, but that is amazing. The entire thing, dude. That's. Oh, man, that. I don't know who this is or why it was on my recommended, but I found this earlier today. Just. Oh man, that is brilliant. 2 trench coats and a kid. That's.
They made it again.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was for or what that is. It's just out of nowhere. It's. Yeah, that's. Take a really funny concept and flip it on its head and make it even better. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, the other really impressive thing about that is that means he had that change in his mouth the entire time.
Yeah.
Throughout everything he was doing there.
How was he even talking with that in his mouth?
I don't know. Man, that was good.
Let me reach into my pocket.
Yeah, Yeah, that's amazing. No other words, which is just. I think I've watched that like 5 times, and I still laugh. It has not gotten old. All right, but on that note, once again, check. Yep, nobody here in the chat. But thanks for joining me, anybody who did, and we will see you next Tuesday.